I guess I'm somewhat ashamed to admit that I just cannot play horror games. No matter how hard I try, I just can't seem to do it. But before we get into why that is, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been watching my content and subscribing to the channel. We've just passed 50 subscribers and we're heading up to 100 as the next goal. So if you're not yet subscribed and you're watching this video, take a look at the rest of the channel, and if it looks like something you'd enjoy, please consider subscribing. It would mean a lot to me and I'd really appreciate it. One other thing that I do want to mention, a good friend of mine is opening up an online retro game store called Pyro Games, and I know he'd really appreciate it if you'd take the time to go check out the store. It's a UK based shop, but it does ship abroad. Of course, some exceptions do apply. And if you do want to buy something there, I have a discount code for you. Just type in consoles only, all caps, at checkout to get 10% off your entire order. It's a one-use code and it's good until the end of 2021. So yeah, if it looks like something you'd be interested in, there'll be a link in the description so you can head over and take a look for yourself. I would just like to say I'm not sponsored by the shop. I don't receive any money, nor do I receive any free games or anything of that nature. It's just a cool shop that I personally use for some retro stuff, so yeah, check it out if it seems interesting to you. So then, horror games. Yeah, it's something I've never really been able to play, let alone enjoy, and in this video I really want to try and talk it out with you and explain what I actually mean and why it's relevant to this channel. Up until this point, you know, I've kind of been a bit private about myself as, you know, an individual when I'm not online, but you know, the channel's got around 50 subs right now, so there's at least hopefully 50 of you watching in general, so I think it would be cool to let you guys know a little bit more about me, get to know me better, and some of the stuff that makes me tick, so to speak. So a little bit of history. I would say that I led quite a sheltered life as a kid. I came from a basically middle class background, middle class family, and don't get me wrong, you know, I had a lot of toys and a lot of games as a child, but I didn't really have much in the way of family time or guidance. You know, I was left on my own quite a lot to just do my own thing. So while I had a lot of toys and games and, you know, things, you know, stuff, I didn't really have much of a family to do things with, you know. And as I said, my life was relatively well sheltered. You know, up to this day, you know, I'm in my early 30s now, and I have never drunk alcohol to any degree. You know, I've never had more than half a beer. I've never actually been drunk. I've never smoked anything, cigarettes or otherwise, never tried any kind of drug of any kind. And I guess, yeah, I was just somewhat sheltered and maybe even coddled a little bit, you know, kept away from all that stuff. And unlike a lot of people that I know, and probably a lot of you guys, I didn't see any of the old movies that people would consider scary or gory, you know, things like the original Alien or RoboCop or Starship Troopers, things like that. I never saw any of these when I was younger, and plenty more as well, you know, Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or any of the classics, you know, Scream even. I never saw any of these things as a child or as a young teenager, you know. But I remember one day really vividly in my mind, I was at one of my uncle's house and he was playing some games, and he was playing the first part of Resident Evil 2, and it was the beginning bit where Leon is in the diner, I think, if I remember correctly. And I remember seeing the zombie eating the dude behind the counter, and I just remember like my heart was racing and I was feeling like I was going to pass out. It was really weird. I must have been about 10 or 12 at the time, I would guess, maybe a little bit younger than that. And you know, remember, I hadn't seen anything violent or bloody or whatever up until that point. And I just remember running out of the room. I went home and I remember feeling on edge and nervous for days and days after that, being sort of afraid of the dark or to go to sleep or just anything. I was just so on edge and so wired all the time, thinking stuff was going to get me. I mean, it sounds stupid now, but when I was a kid, you know, I was terrified. And from then on, I found that I would need to personally sort of vet everything that I was going to watch before I actually watched it. My friends, of course, found it really weird, but you know, I would refuse to just watch anything horror related at sleepovers or whatever, or I would just let them watch it and I would try to go to bed and not watch it, you know, kind of hide under the covers if you like. And then I had a few other situations over the years, like the Resident Evil one I just mentioned, and I remember specifically one of them being one of the scenes in the original Blade movie, you know, the Wesley Snipes movie, when I think they take one of the burnt vampires into the hospital and the vampire just sort of jumps up and bites somebody, and I remember all the blood, and that was one of them that I couldn't handle. And then I remember seeing Starship Troopers because someone just told me it was a cool action film, and I mean, it is, I guess, but, you know, it's very gory, it's not really horror in any way, shape or form, but just some of the things that happened in it just, I don't know, again, just made my heart race, and I just couldn't deal with it, couldn't deal with any of it. And, you know, it didn't really make me feel sick, you know, like some people when they see gore or blood, you know, they feel sick. That's not how I felt. I just felt like I couldn't breathe very well, and like my heart was racing, as I said. So there was a few more of those in between then and now, but fast forward to now, and as I say, I'm in my early 30s, and I still get this same feeling whenever I watch something horror related. I mean, I wasn't even able to watch things like The Walking Dead, although some people may find that as a blessing. I couldn't watch it. I tried and I just couldn't do it. And I haven't been able to play things like Resident Evil. You know, I haven't been able to play a single one of those, even though I do follow the story really closely, only in, you know, written form on the wikis and things like that. But at this point, you might be thinking, well, why is this relevant? Well, really soon, as of the recording of this video, Resident Evil 8, you know, Village, is out really soon. It's out in, let me see, a couple of days at this point, and it just looks so damn good. Like, it really does look good. And from the trailers and things, I don't really get the fight or flight response feeling, you know, the heart racing stuff. It doesn't really bother me. It just looks really cool and interesting to me. Even from the parts in the dungeon, you know, with those like hooded monster things, it doesn't really seem to bother me, which was actually quite surprising. And I know that a friend of mine is getting it, and I just kind of wish I could as well, you know, so that we could chat about it and talk about all the things we saw and did. And, you know, I've thought about it. I've thought about picking it up. But, you know, even as I'm saying this, I can feel myself getting a little bit edgy, you know, thinking about buying it. It's kind of weird, right? But I suppose this is just kind of a warning that those kind of games won't really be on this channel. And I want to apologize if you were looking for some of that. Like, if you were hoping I was going to be doing Resident Evil 8, I probably won't be. You know, at least I don't think I will. If I can pluck up the courage to do it, you know, it's just, again, it's another one of those things, paying out the money for something that I won't enjoy. I don't exactly have unlimited funds. I mean, I'm okay, but I you know, I can't just buy everything and then not play it, you know. But I do think I've figured it out. I do think I've figured out the reason why I feel this way when it comes to horror-related things. It's actually not horror. It's not the horror stuff, and it's definitely not the gore. I'm not someone who suffers with anxiety in general. I really don't. And, you know, some people, we've all met these people that say they have anxiety, but really they just mean they don't want to do the thing. Like, they can't be bothered to do the thing that they're saying makes them anxious. You know the people I mean. And that's not to take away from people that really do have actual anxiety, because now I know what actual real anxiety feels like. It's that tightening of the chest. It's that feeling of dread that you can't escape. And as I say, I don't really suffer with anxiety at all. I mean, I do have some other issues that I won't get into now. I'll talk about them in the future. But as I say, it isn't the gore or the monsters or anything like that, because I can play Gears of War just fine, and that's got some minor horror elements, I would say. And the gore and the chainsawing doesn't bother me. It's all really cool. I've played every Gears of War game. I'm not really keen on 4 and 5, but I like everything else. And I think what it is the suspense, you know, the music, the dark rooms you can't see anything in, and all the stuff that's typically used and designed, you know, to make you feel that feeling of dread. You know, that's what horror films are trying to do. They're meant to give you that feeling, that adrenaline, that feeling of dread, that helplessness. You know, they're supposed to kind of give you that, and I just find that I cannot deal with it, even though I really, really want to. And it's funny, I hadn't really thought about this, but as I'm saying this, I'm sort of convincing myself to maybe try Resident Evil Village. I don't know, man. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it, honestly. I mean, if you guys out there would like to see me try to play it and make a video about it, I can do that. Just kind of a bit nervous about it. Although, having said that, it's just a game, right? I should be able to get through it. I know I sound so stupid, I really do. And this is something that I didn't really want to admit, but I think it's relevant, and I think it's good to see that people have flaws. That, you know, I didn't want to present myself on YouTube as some perfect, you know, pro MLG gamer, because that's not what I am. I'm just a guy, literally just a guy in England who makes videos about stuff he likes. That's what I am. So I think it's good to have flaws. We're all human, and it's just something I wanted to bring up because, as I say, it's relevant to my gaming history. So there you go. And who knows, maybe this video will be the kick I need to actually start playing some of these, more horror and suspense-filled games. Maybe I can break through that cycle and actually play them and enjoy them, And then I can look back on this video in 5-10 years and be like, oh god, yeah, do you remember when I couldn't play Resident Evil? Do you remember that? That'd be pretty funny to do. So any of you out there that feel that way, I'd really like to hear from you in the comments. Are you somebody that can't deal with horror games or suspense or movies or whatever the case may be? Or are you one of those lucky people that just plays them and has absolutely no problem with it? Whichever you are, let me know down below. And if you're watching at this part in the video and you're not subscribed, please take a moment to drop down below and click the little red button. My next goal is 100 subscribers. We're halfway there, and every single sub matters to me, so thanks to anyone who takes the time to do that. Also, if you're interested in taking a look at Pyro Games, the link will be in the video description down below. So with all that said, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.